All right, guys, today we're going to practice multiplying and dividing with equations. So if you're doing really well at adding and subtracting with equations, then this is going to be a breeze for you. If you're still having a little bit of trouble with adding and subtracting equations, that's okay. This is going to really help you because it's kind of a refresher day for notes. So right now I'd ask you to put your name and the date at the top. Awesome. So we talked about yesterday using inverse relationships or opposite relationships to help us solve equations. And the reason we do that is our whole goal to solve an equation is to get the variable by itself on one side. So we use inverse relations to do that because inverse relationships undo each other. So for our example the other day, we used addition. Today we're going to use multiplication. So let's say I had 5 times f. If I wanted to get rid of this 5, I would have to use the inverse of multiplication, which if you remember from yesterday is division. Because I know if I divide this side, I'm going to have 5 divided by 5, which any number divided by itself equals 1. So that would leave me with 1 times f. And I know any number multiplied by itself equals itself, so that would be 1 times f equals 1. So the inverse or the opposite of division is multiplication. Now, remember, the important thing about equations is also not only to use those inverse relationships, but to keep your equation balanced. Which means whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other in order to keep the equation balanced. Think back to the day when we had our cubes in our bags and we had them on the balance beam and we wanted the balance beam to stay level. You can think of your numbers or your known things as your cubes. We're trying to find out what's inside those bags, kind of like those empty spots, which is what that variable stands for. So over here, let's do an example. If f times 5 equals 20, and I divided this side by 5, I know whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. That would leave me with f on this side, and 20 divided by 5 equals 4. If that is correct, I would be able to substitute what I found out for my variable and make sure my answer is correct. Let's do that quickly with our mental math. I know f equals 4, so 5 times 4 equals 20. That is correct, so I know my answer is correct. All right, let's try one together. Right here we have 8x equals 32. I know when I see a number and a letter next to each other, that means to multiply. If I'm trying to get this x by itself, that means I have to get rid of everything else on this side. If the other thing is an 8 that I'm multiplying, I need to do the inverse of multiplying, which is division. So I'm going to divide this side by 8. I also remember whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So in my equation, 8 divided by 8 is 1, so that leaves me with just 1x or x. I know 32 divided by 8 equals 4. So again here I have x equals 4. Let's use our mental math to check. If I put this 4 back up here for x, 8 times 4 is 32. That is correct. I'm going to ask you to pause now and try the other problem. Once you're finished, continue playing the video. All right, if you're stuck here and you're not sure where to start, remember, this big line means to divide. If that helps you out, pause the video and finish the problem. Okay, so I have r divided by 5 equals 55. I know I want to get the r by itself, so I have to get rid of this 5. If I'm dividing by 5, I need to undo that, which means I need to use the inverse, which is multiplication. So if I multiply this side times 5, I have to multiply this side times 5. So that would leave me with just r on this side equals, I'm going to actually do this one in on paper real quick because I want to make sure I have it right. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 5 is 25 plus 2 is 27. So R should equal 275. Which means if I plug that in and I had 275 divided by R, this is just us checking it. I'm sorry, divided by 5, because that is R. 5 can't go into 2, but it goes into 27 5 times. And then I get 25. When I subtract, I get 2. Bring down 5. 5 goes into 25 5 times. When I multiply, I get 25, and I subtract with no remainder. That makes this correct. And I'm actually going to circle that since that's my final answer. I'm going to go back and circle this one too since it's my final answer. All right, go ahead and try your 6 problems on the bottom. There's only one word problem today.